where you have an officer basically around the neck area.
These two retired Vegas cops, now podcast hosts.
They don't have ID, they can't get into a hotel room.
To get them the help they need, especially if someone even gets arrested. A lot of people don't know how the justice system works.
You guys have going on is necessary, it's needed.
Hey, it's David Kohlmeyer. Welcome to The Problem Solver. Today, Tuesday, 6 p.m. We are here. Cox Cable, thanks so much for joining us. As The Problem Solver, the goal is always to solve some problems and help people. This week, we're coming into Veterans Day, and I wanted to actually talk about Veterans Day and military. Today, I have my lovely co-host. I have Laura Powers.
Thank you so much for having me.
I have Danny Miner.
Thank you, Dave.
And then we have a great guest here today, Eric Lacasse, who is military.
Yes.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited about this. This is going to be fun.
Cool.
So, Eric, tell us a little bit about, first of all, how many, you can tell us a little bit about yourself, but just jump in, how many years military did you do?
So I was in the Marine Corps from 2003 to 2008. My job was a 2651, which is a special intelligence analyst. And I was in the 1st Marine Division, and I actually did 2 tours in Iraq, Ramadi and Fallujah.
Okay.
My experience in war was a little different than other people because in the intelligence community, you are part of the higher decision-making people around you. So you're around a lot of officers, generals. You get to develop and hear them speak and be around them. Again, there was elements that were, go out the wire, do patrolling, stuff like that. But the day-to-day was understanding the bigger picture of the Iraq War and what was really going on behind the veil, basically. Lots of things that, can be broken down as far as, that time frame. It was a different time. I mean, we're talking almost 20 years ago, so the military was in a different place than it is now. And the people that were in were Gen Xers, and they volunteered because this was the war to go to, and a lot of us wanted to do this, including myself. I was 23 when I joined, and I was like, I was living in Minneapolis, and I decided to do it because it wasn't, should I do it? It's, could I be a Marine? And I did it. I just went in and just did it. Awesome. And I loved it. But the thing is, it's the Marine Corps. It's a different type. It's different than the other services. The joke is that there are really only 2 services in the United States military, the Army and the Navy. The Air Force is a corporation, and the Marine Corps is a cult. And it really is true. It really is true because it's one of the only service in which you come back different once you go through. Mm-hmm. You're not the same person, and it's a cultish type of
understand. And it's a brotherhood for sure.
It's for life. Yep. It's not like I was a Marine and I was a former Marine or I did my time in the Marine Corps. I'm still consider myself a Marine, and I've been out almost 20 years.
Right.
So that's, it's a cult. It really is.
But it's like, a cult you're proud of being in.
Well, and that's the thing. You have to earn it. That's the thing. It is not easy. It will take everything out of you. But you earn it once, and it's yours forever. So,
did you join because of 9/11? Because it was right after.
So, it was 2 years after 9/11. Mm-hmm. I joined because, for a weird reason, I knew a war was coming, and I wanted to go. I wanted to see what a war was like. You could see it on movies, and you can see it in video games, and you can see it in part of the veil of entertainment. But there's something different about actually going there and having the smell of the sand and the dust and your boots and waking up and all the things that happen with a war and not really knowing if you're going to make it to your rack the next day and living with that simplicity. It was simple. You just got to stay alive. That's the reason for it. And because of that, you have a better understanding of what's important in life. It's an incredible experience. I miss it all the time. It's really weird to say it, but I miss it because the uncertainty of things, but you also develop relationship with people from all over the country, and they're your brothers forever. if they ever come to Vegas, they give you a call. So
it's unusual that I guess your position. I guess my question is, because you know a lot more than other people, would you say that, a lot of Americans believe that we shouldn't have been there? So what are your thoughts with that? Your personal opinion?
A lot of Americans have no clue how bad Saddam was. Saddam Hussein and the way that he had his country run, no other country will ever come close to something like that ever again. He had complete control of everybody. Everyone lived in fear. He wasn't even really a president. He was a prophet. He wrote the Quran in his own blood in his regime because he felt that he was a descendant of Muhammad. That's how crazy he was. And he had 2 sons that ran the entire country. Brutal sons that just did whatever they wanted to do. Do people believe that? Well, there's proof of it. And was that regime change needed? Absolutely needed to be changed. You can't have someone in the modern world that runs a country like that. It just doesn't work. So if people don't believe that, then, I've seen the palaces. I've seen the jail cells. It's just part of going to war to be like, yeah, this is how it was actually run, and some people don't want to hear about that because they think he's a sovereign state.
So you feel that it was definitely necessary?
There were multiple reasons why we needed to be there. The weapons of mass destruction, okay, fine. You can hide them anywhere in your country. When you run the country, if you have complete autonomy, you can hide anything you want and anywhere you want. But the regime needed to go because the people were absolutely just, even slavery is not even the word to say about it. I mean, it was complete totalitarianism.
Jeez.
And it wasn't going to end until someone stepped in. It's just the plain aspect of it. So that's it.
Well, it's interesting just to hear that feedback, especially for someone that was there, especially doing intel as well. When we come back for a quick minute break, I want to talk about how you would say veterans are treated in general when they come back home, because you always see the movies where basically people are not treated properly as soldiers after they did their time, and I want to get your opinion.
Absolutely.
So we'll be back in a quick minute.
Your Honor, I want you to get the full picture of what happened. The real world is sometimes complicated and messy, and so can be criminal justice system. My name is Ryan Helmick. I'm a criminal defense lawyer here in Las Vegas.
Hey, it's David Coleman, the Problem Solver. Welcome back. We are talking today with Eric Lacasse, who is a Marine who served his time 2 tours, and we're talking about specifically military and the life of being in the military, Marine specifically, and how the military is, I would say, what's taking place today as well. And I want to talk a little bit about veterans, how they're treated. Dana, you had a question you wanted to jump in?
Yeah, Eric, You know what? I noticed you did say something. First of all, I want to thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you.
Now, listen, I know you hear that a lot, right? I do too, because I'm a retired cop, and so is Dave. But I truly mean it. We need men like you. And you said something that caught my attention when you said the military's a little different now. Right? Us Gen X's. Okay, I'm a Gen X.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
I feel we are the last of the tough generation.
Absolutely.
I 100% believe that. We were not watched. Our parents let us do whatever we wanted, right? You left the house at 8 o'clock.
Latchkey kids.
Yes,
Yeah.
honestly, that's
Well,
what we
street
were.
lights, yeah.
Totally.
I'm born and raised in Minneapolis. So the summers where the door was open and see you in the evening, and I would be by myself all day.
Me too.
Yeah.
Flip over
Me too.
rocks. That's what I loved to do as a kid. Flip over rocks and just see what was underneath it. I mean, what kid is doing that now? No
Right.
one's doing that now, but I loved it. And I would be out all day, bike riding, playing baseball with friends, making up rules as you're playing. It was a different generation, and it was a different generational war. That was our war.
Exactly. And you said something else. You said that you miss it.
I do.
And you know what? I've heard other veterans say that. I really have. And Joe Rogan, I'm assuming you watch his podcast. The one thing he said that always stay with me is we need men like you. We need men. We need strong men that can control their violence, but their violence is there when we need it. And that's what we need. We can't have a weak society. We need a strong military. And I think that's what you were getting at. The military's changed now with this younger generation. Am I correct?
I do believe that. And again, in the Marine Corps, there's the saying, once a Marine, always a Marine. So once you receive the title, you are part of the club. again, we were going through the same things as Gen Xers with the Vietnam era when we were going into the Iraq War.
Yeah.
We had to prove that we weren't the Nintendo age Marines. Now, of course, now I'm part of the, Gen Xer Marines, and I'm looking at these young kids that, bit past boot camp and they're in the fleet. And I'm like, you get these Instagram kids. And I'm like, I feel like that old salty guy again. But then again, they're Marines too. So they have my respect because they've earned it. The thing is, everything around them has changed. And even the training has changed. When I was in boot camp, which is either, depending on where you're on the Mississippi, if you're on the east side of the Mississippi, you go to Camp Lejeune, the old school Paris Island boot camp. If you're on the left side of the Mississippi, you go to San Diego. I was a San Diego guy because Minneapolis is on the only state where you get to choose because the Mississippi is in that state. So I chose San Diego. I was with men in that training for 3 months, another 2.5 months for infantry training, and then my MOS school, which is in Pensacola, Florida. This was the first time I saw a female Marine, was almost 7 months in.
I was going to ask about that because I was actually recruited pretty hard because I was drum major. So, if you don't know, drum major is like the head of the marching band, and like all the different military branches have a marching band. So I was recruited and I considered it. And then ultimately I majored in theater. So I kind of went the other avenue, but that was one of the things I was kind of concerned about was, the gender balance. And
theater and Marine is kind of the same thing, right?
Well, and the thing is, that job goes right to Washington, D.C. You play for the president's own band. Like, they specifically go after. They still go through boot camp.
You're
still go through everything.
Official military person, but it's just for the band specifically.
Right, and you got to audition and you got to earn your place. And it's tough. It's not easy. They take it very, very seriously. But now females are in San Diego. They're integrated gender.
Good to hear. I'm really glad to hear that.
Yeah, that is.
And it is, and I get it. They're gonna have to come with the times. But when I was in, that was a 50-year tradition of nothing but men for almost half a century. And within the last 7 years, they're like, we're going to start bringing in females. And now females are integrated completely. It's just the way it is. Now, there are old salty Marines like, I was in when it was the real Corps. And I'm like, you know what? I mean, it's still the Marine Corps. It's still the same training.
But wasn't the reason why they didn't want really females because men wouldn't be able to concentrate? Sad to say, men thinking about, having some dirty thoughts, and you got some.
Yeah, I mean,
and then if a female got injured, they would, maybe try to save her instead of doing the right thing by.
You're right. I don't know. Right. So, and again, we're coming into an area where you look at the movie Full Metal Jacket, right?
I remember.
And you have the Gomer Pyle, right? The one that never can get anything done, and those are the ones that get picked on and ostracized. Because the punishment for one is punishment for all. That's the Marine Corps holds on to that very dearly. And even in the fleet, the dirtbag Marine is the one that gets everyone in trouble. Now, it's not to say that a woman can't handle it, but I'm saying that anybody that doesn't hold the weight is going to be, first of all, isolated and then basically kind of moved to push out, right? But if a woman can handle all the training and she meets the requirements and she can do the runs and the pull-ups and all that stuff, you're in. And if you can pass the crucible, we'll get to the crucible, that's the final test, you earn the title. You should have it. It's yours, just like anybody else.
Tell us about that.
So can I just real quickly, as a woman, I want equality, but at the same time, if someone can't do the physical requirements, I'm not for that. So for example, with firefighting, I've heard that in some cases, fire departments will reduce the requirement for women to be a firefighter. And I'm like, look, if you need to pick up a body, you need to be able to pick up a body to save that person. So I really do believe that you should hold that standard to what is needed for the position.
And if a woman, and then the point I'm saying about the Full Metal Jacket, if a woman is the one that's being ostracized because she can't handle the weight, that's unfortunate. But if that's the woman that is not pulling her weight, now you got to punish her, and because you're going to phase her out.
I don't like the punishment part, but I do think that if that's a requirement for the job, then that should be held uniformly. Right. Even though I consider myself a feminist.
So the Crucible, we'll talk about the Crucible. The Crucible is the final test to become a Marine. So you have 2.5 months of training, and you get qualified on the rifle range, which is probably one of the best rifle range trainings in the world, because they can take anyone off the street and you can put a round at 500 meters away into a center hole. I mean, it is the best training in the world, but you got to sign up to do it.
Right.
The Crucible is a 4-day test where you average 3 hours of sleep. You're walking 56 miles and you're doing like 15 different exercises and isolations and problem solving as you're sleep deprived. You're only living off 2 meals for those 3 days. And at the final test, you got to climb a mountain. It's called the Reaper, and it is a
Reaper apparel.
I'm telling you.
There you go.
The Reaper Mountain is so steep that if you were to stop in the middle of the road, you put your hand out, you could touch the gravel. You're literally walking side by side all the way up, and it's 900 meters straight.
Every
up.
Marine goes through this
That
mountain, right?
Yep. The San Diego Marines, the Paris Island Marines, they just have to walk 12 miles.
Oh, that's like no big deal.
Yeah, but they have sand.
I want to
frays,
be
right?
in that one.
So here's the
Yeah,
problem,
can I
and
choose
this
that
is
one?
something. Here's the issue that you have with Marines that come from either one of those, right? The Paris Island Marines are always going to hold on to the fact that they're the old school original, boot camp.
Right.
The ones from San Diego, like myself, they call us Hollywood Marines.
All right.
But our boot camp is physically tougher, right?
Yeah.
It's much physically tougher because we just have to go up mountains. That's just like, you go up there and you're a Marine, and that's it. Like that's the final part of the test. Once you're up there, they have a ceremony, and then you're done. But then you still have to do a bunch of stuff when you go back down. But that's even in the Marine Corps. There's divisions on that.
Wow.
There's rivalries amongst ourselves.
Wow.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, let's talk about what's going on in
Yes.
Russia and North Korea. We'll be back in a quick minute.
LasVegasTrafficCameras.com. 1725 cameras. Access to the largest network of traffic cameras. Accident? Injured? Get the video footage you need to get justice. 725 cameras. LasVegasTrafficCameras.com.
Injured? Call 602-HURT. Car accident? Call 602-HURT. Pacific West Injury Law, a firm that focuses on you. Our firm is dedicated to you and your recovery. No fee until we win.
Hey, it's David Colmeyer, the Problem Solver. We are back talking in regards to military. We're talking about a Marine here, Eric Lacasse. A question for you in regards to, well, first of all, the treatment in regards to veterans, and it's Veterans Day that's coming up right now. How do we feel that our veterans are treated, especially in Las Vegas? I know there's newer facilities here. Do we feel our veterans are being taken care of?
Absolutely. Better than most states.
Okay.
Without a doubt. When we look at how, as a veteran rotating back, we have we have to look at the way Vietnam was treated, right? And they're the ones that, the VFWs and the bars that have veteran bars, they were created to help them have a place to basically vent in a way, to be part of a belonging. That's not necessarily still true today, because there's many other outlets that veterans can go to, including the VFW. VFW has a very big problem when it comes to promotion and marketing, because their core demographic is starting to die out, and the Iraqi and Afghanistan veterans may not have had the best experience, and they don't want to go to a place that reminds them of that.
Interesting.
So there's a generational shift, but in Vegas there's the Leatherneck Bar, which is a Marine bar off of Arville and Spring Mountain. Great place, but it is a Marine bar. You go in there and everything is Marine Corps, and it's intimidating. And Ghost is the guy who runs the bar. Great guy. He knows this. It's open for everybody, the civilians and airmen, soldiers, everyone else. But you go in there and there's a picture of the Commandant of the Marine Corps, the President. There's rifles. It's a museum too, and cami netting, and everything's labeled after a Marine. There's a Chesty Polar burger, and there's beer named after grunts. And A lot of people don't go there that aren't Marines, but that place is filled with Marines.
If you go there with a Marine, it's better.
If you go there with a Marine,
if we walked right now, we're not Marines. Like, would they know or?
They would be able to tell. Yeah,
retired law enforcement like Stans doesn't.
I'm pretty sure they would know if I wasn't. Right?
they let her in anyway.
Run with the drum major thing, and you'll be fine.
I was a drum.
Come in with the drum. That's even better.
Well, the drum major doesn't actually play the drums. The drum major is the one that gives the commands.
Right.
Oh,
okay.
So you learn military commands to basically direct and tell the band what to do.
She's an expert in this. All right. So bottom line is, you think our veterans are being treated well here in Vegas?
They're being treated very well in Las Vegas. The facilities that I've been to when I moved here, are better than Minneapolis. By a long shot.
So locally here, it's better in general.
Yeah.
And do you feel, this is like more of a political question, I guess, with Biden or Trump or Obama, do we feel like people say, oh, when Trump was in office, veterans were taken care of better?
Oh, heck no. When Trump mentioned McCain, and he mentioned that he only wants to be recognizing the winners and POWs are the losers.
That was bad.
That got the man.
That is a absolute slap in the face, because I sat next to John McCain in Fallujah when he was on his press tour, because Fallujah was actually a little safer my second deployment. I actually sat next to the man. Didn't sit next to Trump.
Right.
Trump had nothing to do with actually going out and shaking hands, but McCain did.
What about benefits-wise? Because it always seemed like Trump was like pro-benefits for veterans. Or is that just again, this is just like what we get from TV.
So it is what you get from TV. I mean, a bump in pay is a bump in pay, but you know what? It's going to take a president that's a veteran to really understand what veterans are really going through.
Good point.
You know, and I whatever political stance is, I think a president should have military experience. I think they should. They should see what it's like, to understand that element of their job.
Let's do a minute of what's going on for Russia and a minute of what's going on in North Korea.
Sure.
So it'll be like a little bit of a quiz.
I have a question after.
Go
that.
for it.
You want me to ask it?
Ask your question.
All right, this is going to be off the wall. All right. You said you're an intelligence officer?
No, I was an enlisted intelligence. Yep.
Okay. Tell us about the UFOs. Come on, they saw them off San Diego. The country admitted to it. Let's hear
we're
it.
not that far from Area.
Yeah, Area 51. You know something you're not allowed to tell us, right?
I didn't see any UFOs in Iraq. That's all I can say.
All right. I just wanted to bring that.
I have another guy actually about that stuff.
They admitted to it.
On that show.
They admitted to it.
I have a guy actually that will come on the show, but he'll come cloaked.
Are you serious?
Oh, that's awesome.
So
I'm in. Laura, are you in for that one?
Let's do it.
That is awesome.
They have to be like cloaked and everything to talk about it.
All right.
From the waves and
no, because he's still active, so he would come talk about it. So
right.
what do Creek? Was it Creech Air Force Base?
Yeah.
All right, let's go back there. Russia.
Sorry.
1 minute. Tell us what do you think is going on with Russia. What's going on over there?
Russia is scared that NATO is going to be on their back door, and Putin's under a lot of pressure from his own regime to reestablish the Iron Curtain. And he's doing whatever it takes. He's only got one shot, and he's going to try to take Ukraine because that keeps him as a Soviet powerhouse. The problem is Ukraine has been through enough war as it is that they are actually repelling him. And he's going to have to answer for a lot of indiscrepancies from past regimes. And Russia is nervous, and they're back against the wall, and they'll do whatever it takes to win.
So what do you think? You think Ukraine's doing a good job now in regards to prevention-wise with the military equipment? It seems like with the military equipment that they're getting from America.
It's a combination of both, and the equipment's going to be even more. I think that they're going to start putting troops in Poland in case of an actual more of a 100,000 Russian troop invasion to repel that. But again, NATO has really, the conflict is between NATO and Russia. Who is going to occupy what? And NATO's going to keep pushing what they want, and Russia's going to keep on defending what they want.
And in regards to nuclear, I mean, everyone keeps talking a little bit more and more that they're saying that he's a little bit more unstable and so on. Should we be nervous in regards to nuclear, in regards to...
No, I don't think. I think they're too smart to know that one button changes everything. It takes one button to push, and everyone pushes their button, and then it's over. I mean, it's just that simple. But again, that's the mutually assured destruction policy that the world has. I have one, you have one. I'm going to say every once in a while I'm going to use it, but I know I'm not going to use it because it hurts me more than it hurts you.
Got it. North Korea, 24 missiles the other day. What's the story with that?
They are still trying to flex on South Korea because they're jealous that South Korea is actually way more powerful than they are. And I'm surprised that it's taken this long before the civilian populace overrides and just decimates it. But they're so weak and they have so much famine going around that any form of an insurgency against the North Korean regime is immediately met with death. I mean, they'll just shoot them in the streets. But they're incredibly jealous of South Korea. South Korea could just wipe them out in 3 weeks if they wanted to. But they're not going to do it because it looks bad on their image. But they're going to keep doing it. They're not going to stop.
Well, it's definitely crazy times in general. I really appreciate Eric, coming on the show and just kind of sharing some insight in regards to everything in general. We definitely need to have you come back on the podcast with a lot more time. But I'm glad that we're able to get this out to all the Cox viewers in regards to, especially Veterans Day. We appreciate your service, and anybody that's watching that has military background. We do appreciate everything that you've done for our country, for my children, and all of us here in America.
Yeah.
So God bless you, Eric, in regards to all the time that you served, and we hope to have you back on the show again.
Not a problem. Let me know.
Danny, thanks so much for co-hosting today.
Got it, Dave.
Laura, as usual, you're amazing.
Oh, thank you.
And we will see you next Tuesday at 6 o'clock. Have a good week.
Our attorney, Ryan Helmick. Why is it so important to have an attorney in your corner?
The state of Nevada is represented by the prosecutor, who is an attorney. And so an individual that is charged with a crime should likewise be represented to level the playing field. And as well, you want to have somebody who has experience in dealing with these types of cases, knows what type of evidence that needs to be put forth, what type of story needs to be told to the jury in order for them to see all the facts and the circumstances surrounding the case.